Hello world. So I'm live now. I do believe the audio levels are okay. Let's just decrease that a bit. So goal here is I'm going to talk about DevOps, and other programming. So I just need to turn off that. All right. Cool. So there isn't really anyone here yet. So obviously this would be more for the video on demand after. Guess I can start talking through some of the topics that I intend to cover. Let's see here. I wonder what the best way to do this would be. I could either show the list that I already have. Yeah, I don't know that that actually would help. Let's switch over to screen sharing. So, there we are. So what we've got, hello world. That obviously is this video. Go ahead and draw a line through that. We have some of the next few things I definitely want to discuss are Kubernetes, from scratch. So I'm going to go through that tutorial by Kelsey Hightower and see how we can go through it together. I have begun the attempt of it, but I have not completed it. To do this, a few of the things that I'm going to need to install and obviously use. So to do that, I want to describe them a bit more. Are vagrant. Have I spell it right? Vagrant. I'm going to use LXCs. LXC. Let's go through what those are real quick. So Linux containers. They are similar to Docker, but different. I believe that we can gain some efficiencies. I don't want to do it on the cloud. So instead of spinning up additional virtual machines for each of the separate elements that are required for Kubernetes, I'm going to use LXC containers. This, prevents us from having full virtual machines for the masters and the agents and the nodes and all that. So that is just scratching the surface. I'm going to go through setting them up, especially so I operate on a Mac. To be able to do that, there are issues because it's not a Linux kernel. So I use Vagrant to spin up a VirtualBox virtual machine and go through that. Let's see what else we have. Vagrant, that's up here. LXCs. So let's see, some of the other things that will be used during that will be tmux. That is a terminal multiplexer, I believe is the correct term for that. To describe that, this is tmux. So it is a program that you run within your shell, and that allows you to create multiple sessions. So that is a window number 1. That is window number 2. You can create panes and split them. You can also synchronize your panes. So because we are going to be performing actions on multiple devices at the same time, it's just going to be a lot easier to use tmux to enable that. Vim. So I have been using Vim as my main editor for quite some time now, and I've learned a number of things that have made me more efficient. So I thought I could share what I've learned there. That's the wrong window. So let's see, Vim, tmux. I guess along with vagrant, perhaps VirtualBox. Don't know how much I'll cover that, but you know, it's depending on as people join the stream and have things to add or ask questions about, happy to adjust what we cover based on that, based on your interests. Let's see, what do we have here? So I definitely want to do a pothole. I think that is so this is for network-wide ad blocking. So this can help. It's not just for ad blocking, it's also to prevent, it can help prevent malware. So you point your devices to Pi-hole as a DNS, and I've not used it, but I'm interested in using it. So we can learn how that works together. So Pi-hole, let's see, that actually has a dash in it, I suppose. Yeah. Be a little pedantic here and line these guys up. All right. Pi-hole. Put you up here. Going to cover, well, let's see, once we go through Kubernetes the hard way, then it's, we can talk about Helm charts, I guess just Kubernetes in general, Helm charts, Ansible. That is a tool used to configure and install software on multiple servers or other devices at the same time. That's a tool that we use quite regularly. Let's see, I am currently working on and learning Terraform a bit better. So potentially we could talk about that. I have, course I recently was lecturing on was called Cloud-Based Web Applications. So we worked on building a Node.js API, and then I like to separate my front end from the API. So what we could do is work on a front end that is a single page application. So, and I I know Vue.js better than React, but why don't we learn a bit about React together? Let's see what else we have. So we've also got yes, Golang and Rust. Together. So those are both languages I'd like to pick up. So perhaps we could learn them together. So that's kind of the goal of this whole thing is I have experience, but I don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. I am looking to up my skills in a lot of areas, and I don't see why not share that experience with other people. But also be able to talk with authority on the things that I do know very well. Okay, let's see. Are there any other useful, interesting things? Yes. So one of the topics we covered in my course that I taught was hashing, and I found the a deeper discussion and demo on so that's hashing for, say, passwords or API keys. I was able to shed a lot of light on that topic for the students. Also HTTPS. So to go a little bit deeper into what that is, not just everybody knows how to go to an HTTPS site, but the core mechanics behind it. I find the deeper I delve into a lot of these topics, the more I understand topics surrounding the area that's being discussed. I have bad hay fever and allergies, so please excuse the tissues. Let's see. We have I thought another useful thing could be taking top X lists and actually testing the tools. So instead of just reading through an article, maybe going through and installing it and trying it out and going through it together to see what the quirks are, and together learning what works, what doesn't work. Have a little bit more detail than just the benefits, the pros, the cons, and the where to go install it, but what actually happens when testing it out for the first time. Let's see. Guess digging into some of the tech news at different times. Not that I have anything in mind right now, but we can go through and see what's being talked about and dig a little deeper into that. My plan is to stream basically at 4 p.m. GMT, which is now. Most days, I'm not 100% sure what I'm looking at, but I think weekdays and Saturdays, I'm trying to find what the right balance will be. Obviously, this is the first video, or not video, but the first stream, so I don't know, what will work, what won't work, what I should spend more time on before videos or after. Videos. I keep saying videos because I've a number of videos that were transformed from a podcast. So I have previously had a podcast. So I was the CTO of a startup and a CTO and co-founder. And during that, I decided that it would be good to talk to other CTOs and co-founders to talk about technology, the business, those sorts of things. So I have approximately 50 episodes. All of those are available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, but also on YouTube. So this is currently the channel. All the videos are there. They're not live action videos. It's the recordings transformed into audio. The audio transformed into a video. So that's the reason I keep saying video. So, yeah, I don't know how much preparation makes sense beforehand, and how much just bashing through it together makes sense. I know that I've seen a number of recorded videos of streams that had been live that were recorded, and liked seeing the issues that people can have while going through something. So obviously I would do enough to know what I was doing, but to be a little more advanced on what needs to be known, but not have a fully laid out thing. That's what I'm thinking. Let's see. What else have I written down here? Oh, yes. So, hosting providers. So kind of a comparison and discussion about hosting providers such as DigitalOcean, Vultr. I suppose at some point we could go through the big ones, Azure, AWS, GCP. Is that right? Google Cloud, GCP. I always forget. Platform. Don't know why I can't remember that. So could go through those. Google, I have the least experience with, so that might be the most interesting, at least if you're looking for fails. So we could see what that looks like. What else do we have? HTTPS, yeah. Building those. So that's a lot of what I was thinking about covering. Planning to go for about an hour a day, 4 to 5 GMT. So that's what we're going to start with. We'll see how it goes. Wonder what I could start on today. Maybe the vagrant to begin with might be valuable. Just to get the vagrant out of the way. So excuse me. So let me get this set up first. Let's see. Good grief. Okay, I am here. Okay, so first step on a Mac anyway is let's go back over here, that all right, I guess we could start by describing a virtual machine for anyone who isn't aware. That if you think about this as your let's say this is my MacBook. So if this is my MacBook here, I want to run Linux. So I could either destroy the operating system and try to install Linux or get a different computer. But there are tools that only work on the Mac that I need. So for instance, building iOS apps, I have to have Xcode. OBS, which is what's used for streaming here, that would work on Windows, and I think it works on Linux, but I think first class is Windows, second is Mac, third is Linux, but I could be wrong on that. But what we can do is create virtual machines. So virtual machine. Virtual machine. Or a VM. So within your virtual machine, you would have, say, a Linux operating system, and we could even say that this one is, say, Ubuntu 18.04. Let's just go ahead and then we could also have another VM with, say, what is the release schedule? Ubuntu release versions. 2004. Yeah, 1804, 2004. Okay. Here. So 20. Could also have CentOS 7 don't remember what the CentOS versions are, and it makes less of a difference now that they're no longer supporting CentOS for version 8, and now it's a rolling update. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but it's basically related to Red Hat Linux trying to force companies to go with Red Hat. I don't know. I'm just glad that I run Ubuntu, but that doesn't mean that in the future Ubuntu might not have a similar issue. But anyway, I can have these 3 different machines running, 3 different Linux servers running within MacBook. Now, there are a number of tools for running virtual machines. VirtualBox is the one I prefer. There's also what's the other one? I always forget. I think Parallels is one. There's a VMware one. Joel. So if we just look through here, there's Parallels. So that I think is a paid version. There is VMware Fusion, Oracle's VirtualBox, QEMU. That one is very scaled back, at least from my experience with it. It doesn't really have a graphical interface that I've seen. So like if we just look at VirtualBox, it's actually installed already. You can see here that I do have a virtual machine, but I created this or provisioned it with Vagrant. And Vagrant is by HashiCorp. They make a number of really great tools. Packer, Vagrant, Console. Let's see if we just actually go to the HashiCorp site instead of trying to remember all the products. Terraform. Yes, obviously. I knew I would forget something. Vault, which is for security. So I think they're a great company, at least in the product offerings that they have. So Vagrant is a tool that will allow you to launch a virtual machine based on code. So I can pass a small text file to someone else and they can have the identical environment. So if I go into code training Vagrant. Oh, it's just code Vagrant. Oh, let's see. So you have a Vagrant file which has everything in it that is required. The first couple of lines are just to set the file type when you open it in Vim. So we're configuring Vagrant using the HashiCorp's Bionic 64, which is Ubuntu 18.04. I am forwarding 3 ports. So that means that within the guest, which is the Linux box that spins up, port 80 will be forwarded to my host at 1080. So if I go to localhost 1080, that will go to the Linux machine's port 80. 1443 goes to 443, and 8443, which is the LXC port, goes to 8443. I am setting a disk size of 50 gigabytes. I am setting a few VirtualBox settings. The GUI is false, so we don't need an X Windows environment. It's just a terminal. The amount of memory, which is 6 gig, so and 24 times 6, using 4 CPUs. Then when it spins up, it will do an apt-get update and an apt-get upgrade. So if we look at vagrant status, you can see that there's already a vagrant box running. Vagrant SSH. I think that might be a little bit small. Make that a little bit bigger. So if I have vagrant SSH, I can see that I'm inside of as the user vagrant on a server, on a virtual machine named vagrant. So if I cat / etc. star releases star release star, we can see it's Ubuntu 1804 uname -a, can't spell name. We can see it is a Linux vagrant uname -a. It's Darwin, so that's a Mac. Again, looking at the vagrant file, we can see that this is the only file in the, well, actually, that's not true. I was going to say this is the only file in the directory, but there is quite a bit of information under .vagrant, but that is because there is hi there, Mr. Ed Makes. So this is just the hello world, just telling everyone what's going on, who I am. But I am right now just going through VirtualBox and Vagrant. So actually, if you're still here, I'm still learning how Twitch works, so I need to better understand. Oops, what? Come back here. Better understand how I can make sure I know when messages appear in Twitch chat. Missed that, so I guess perhaps what I could do is hello, come back here. Bring this back here. So now I hopefully won't miss any messages like I'm afraid I may have for Mr. Ed Makes. Oh, so, okay. Yeah, so Vagrant, the .vagrant file, or folder, directory, has all of what is created during a Vagrant op. So if I do a Vagrant halt, that should stop the virtual machine. Okay. So now if I rm so we have nothing here. We do a vagrant status. We can see that the virtual machine has not been created. If we go back to actually opening VirtualBox. That's interesting. That's because I did not destroy it before I deleted it from the folder. So lots of mistakes will happen. I can just remove it from here as soon as I see the word delete. Remove. Good grief. Delete all the files. Okay. So now if we do a vagrant up, let's actually just get the vagrant file again. So Ubuntu 18.04, forwarding the ports, disk size, memory, and CPUs. So vagrant up. Vagrant up. All right, let's just move this over here. Oh, that's actually behind me, so you wouldn't be able to see that, but there we go. Put that there. So the Ubuntu 18.04 or HashiCorp's Bionic 64 has already been installed. And I can show that in a bit, but that means that since it's already on this computer, it's just spinning up that virtual machine now. Spinning up. So now it is doing the apt update. Shortly it will. Let's come over here and wrong machine. So I was going to display the vagrant file right beside the running of this, but I'm on the wrong computer to be able to do that. Okay, so I believe we're doing the upgrade now, the apt upgrade. Shouldn't take long. Okay. I'm surprised not to have already seen the box over here, the VirtualBox. I would have thought that that would have shown up well before this point, but let's just see what happens. Perhaps it doesn't register until the vagrant up has completed. That might be what's going on. Okay. I suppose if this is going to take a little bit longer, I can go ahead and show that vagrant file anyway. So, there we are. With the vagrant file here beside it. Oh, I am so silly. I am showing you VirtualBox from this computer. This computer is not where we are running this this vagrant up. This vagrant up is on my Mac Mini. I'm using that because of the amount of CPU and memory that it would use while trying to stream. Would run out of resources. So let me just draw a bit of a diagram of what's going to happen with the LXCs here in the future. So we've gone through what these are, right? So again, we can go back and just take this, pull this guy down here. Now I'm only going to have one virtual machine, but it's going to be a pretty significantly resourced machine. Inside of that, we are going to have LXCs and LXDs. For each, this is long term for scratch, Kubernetes from scratch. Okay, but this is not the MacBook. This is from a Mac Mini. This is from the MacBook. Here I have let's give some colors here. So this is the device that I am streaming from. So OBS, the streaming software, requires quite a bit of resources. So I will be connecting from we are here, the MacBook, we are jumping over to the Mac Mini. You cannot run LXCs and LXDs on Mac. So, well, you can run LXC, but it needs to connect to a daemon on a Linux device. Linux containers, not Mac containers. So we create a virtual machine with Linux using a Linux container, a Linux virtual machine in VirtualBox using Vagrant so that it's easy to spin up. From there, we create LXC, LXD, which has a number of different containers that we will run Kubernetes in. And so I can show you the So this is the Kubernetes the hard way. It's used to understand Kubernetes from the ground up. I've been using it for quite a while, but I have mostly used services that will create it. So Azure's container service, ACS, then Azure's Kubernetes service, AKS, AWS's Elastic Kubernetes service, EKS, and just from Docker, you can have it operate as Kubernetes. But this will allow a deeper understanding of Kubernetes from the ground up. So let's just add, oh, no, we don't want that. We want this here. All right, so I guess this will be yeah, makes sense. Okay, so now we have that .vagrant directory. Let's see if we just find. So it's created a number of items, including an SSH key. So let me just bring Twitch chat back over here, so in case anyone else arrives. So if we do a vagrant SSH, you see that I am again in this vagrant machine. Now, okay, we have LXC available. So if we do an LXC list, so LXD, which is the daemon, and LXC, which is sort of the client, are here, but it is not initialized. I only have around 10 minutes left, so I don't think it makes much sense to move on to actually initializing the LXD. But let's again look at the status of Vagrant. So it's running Vagrant halt. Status again. It's off. So if we look at the options available, up, suspend, status, SSH, we can take snapshots, resume. So that is what we want to do. Actually, this is not suspended, we have halted. So I guess we want to we can try up. I think it might just be up. Yeah, so now we're bringing this back up. And this should be relatively quick. And status. So it's running. SSH again. Yep. So it's back up. I need to let's see, let's change this back over here. Or actually, we could change it back to here. I need to better understand how I can make sure that I interact with the audience as they're here. I'm still learning about streaming. I'm very new to this, so as people arrive, I don't really know as chat messages come in. I don't know when those are here or not. So I'm going to keep working on getting better at this. That's the goal. That's why it's called Hello World, just like with programming. You're not good at it the very first time you try it. Don't expect to be good at this the very first time I try. Just want to keep getting better. I am just trying to understand how to see when there are viewers available. I know I want to use the video that exists after the stream to try to take out the good bits and create probably YouTube videos. I don't know that there's a lot from this one that would be useful, but we'll see. It would just be nice to know during a stream when someone arrives. So I guess that's one of the things that I need to spend a little bit of time learning more about, is understanding when viewers arrive, how to avoid missing chat messages. Let's see. Okay. So if I look at programming Twitch, it doesn't appear like there's anyone here left except for one person. I'm wondering how I can send a raid. Not that there's anyone here to raid with, but just to see if I can figure out how this works. So let's see. So let's switch back over to this. Now.
streaming, I have a desktop on the ground. It's the one that receives the inputs and then does all the complex math and goes on the internet. And then I code on my Mac. And actually think it would be handle Blender. That's a good idea.
All right, so I'm still just trying to figure out how I can there we go. How to use raids.
For what I'm seeing. I don't know who he is, but thank you for being here, man. Obrigado. Pense por nós. Okay, so now regarding the current overlay. Yeah, we can make a quick test because now we already have
logic to. Okay. All right, so. /raid.
Here or not. So this log. Hook. So if I go to the hook and look for the clicked action. This is it. So this is when it knows I can
that.
Okay,
so now I understand how to do it. Just need to find a. It may not make sense now since there's no one here. Anyway, so this was a learning experience. I have enjoyed it. Hope anyone who sees this isn't scared off by the first episode hiccups. So I hope to see you next time. Bye.